joining us tonight. Tomorrow, there will be a workshop at the 16th to Economic Problems in the Black Community. But there's a problem. Franklin reports tonight the church's pastor wants this.
White segregationists bombed the church, killing
this and black that. You've never heard me say white this or white that. That's not the way I normally deal with people. I think we should deal with each other as individuals.
Reverend Hamlin said
Deason's family are making serious allegations against police. No one has brought forth any evidence so far that police participated in any way in killing Deason. Police have admitted jailers did not do their job patrolling. Folsom says he asked Montgomery County Circuit Judge Gene Reese to indefinitely suspend his September 30th deadline to form a new school funding plan. The judge could respond to that at a scheduled hearing next week. The Jefferson County Coroner's Office has now released its autopsy report on Donnie Deason. Someone murdered Deason last month while he was at the Birmingham City Jail. The coroner's report says Deason died as a result of blunt force injuries. Deason's mother and aunt got their copy of the report today. They plan to show it to their own forensic scientist tomorrow. That pathologist will also examine a video of Deason's body. The family took that video at the funeral home.
Here's the latest in a bizarre kidnapping that frightened mothers all across the city when it was first reported. Two teenage sisters pleaded guilty to taking a baby from the Tree of Life daycare in Ensley. The mother of the kidnapped baby tells Tanty Blewett she believes the girls are sorry.
Carolyn Hargrove goes to family court holding her little girl in her arms. More than 2 months ago, two teenagers, a 17 and 14-year-old, kidnapped the baby. Hargrove says she came to the hearing to find out why someone would take her child.
Well, I just wanted to know what was going on and everything. That's something I just needed to know.
Sandra Gaucher kept little Sharday the 6 days she was missing. Gaucher says the oldest teenager pretended she was pregnant and that Gaucher's son was the father. Then the girl brought Sharday to their home. After seeing the baby on television, the family realized Sharday was kidnapped. After the hearing, the court allowed Hargrove and the teens to sit down and talk.
And Ms. Hargrove expressed hope for these girls' future. She told them she did not hate them, but she had not yet forgiven them, and I certainly understand that.
But the teens will have to pay for what they've done. They're going to the Department of Youth Services, and a judge will make periodic checks to determine when they should get out. Tanty Blewett, Channel 6 News at 10.
And another sister is accused of taking part in that kidnapping. The 12-year-old will have a hearing in family court in just a couple of weeks. In Miami, police arrested a 16-year-old boy for murder and armed robbery. As we told you last night, a mob of teenagers beat a 44-year-old man to death after he accidentally hit an 11-year-old girl with his car. Charles Bell stopped to check on the girl. She received only minor injuries. A crowd of teenagers apparently on their way to a fight attacked, robbed, and killed him.
A pro-Army rally in Haiti today did not attract many Haitians, despite efforts to drum up support. That tops tonight's World in a minute. Only a few hundred turned out for the demonstration. Meanwhile, Haiti's ousted president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, is calling for swift and definitive action to return him to office. A Navy officer who announced on ABC's Nightline program that he's homosexual cannot get back into the service. A military board voted to grant an honorable discharge to Tracy Thorne. Good news for people who live in Bainbridge, Georgia. They're spared from even worse flooding. It doesn't mean they can go home yet, but the Flint River is expected to crest well below the stage previously predicted. Dozens of dolphins are back in the ocean tonight thanks to a dramatic rescue. The deep-water striped dolphins lost their way and wound up beached at Big Carlos Pass. Boaters herded them back out to sea. And astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia continue their experiments despite a setback. They say one of the newts they were studying died, apparently, they think, from stress. An array of other creatures, including jellyfish, sea urchins, and fruit flies, are also aboard the shuttle for 2 weeks of research.
The U.S. Postal Service picks Huntsville as one of the cities where it will issue new stamps commemorating man landing on the moon. Well, take a look. Here you see Neil Armstrong. Well, there you see the moon. 25 years ago. The stamp will be dedicated during a ceremony July 20th at the Space and Rocket Center. And now, for a first check on our forecast, let's go to James Spann in the Weather Center. James?
Well, Brenda, what a soaking for Birmingham earlier tonight. You can see all the rain here on the Doppler 6 radar. We had over 1 inch at Channel 6. The airport had nearly 2 inches of rain tonight, causing some flooding for a while. But notice that things are settling down. The rain pretty much is over. Any patches of light rain should be ending fairly soon. In fact, that's our forecast for tonight. That rain ending, and after midnight, we'll see the formation of some patchy fog. Wind out of the southwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Our low temperature tonight dropping off into the upper 60s, around 69. Coming up, the weekend forecast, and we'll show some pictures of some of the flooding we had in Birmingham earlier tonight.
All right, thanks a lot, James. And Clemens, hey, looking like he might get that no-hitter after all.
The Rocket Man against the A's, currently in the 8th inning. He's no-hit Oakland so far, and it would be nice. Clemens got several one-hitters, but we'll keep you up to date, keep you posted on that. Also, is the straw back, Darryl Strawberry, his first homer since returning to baseball after that the drug problems, a grand slam. Darryl Strawberry back in fine fashion tonight. We've got more on that later as well. Well, the Atlanta Braves lose to Florida tonight. The Barons split with Knoxville. We've got British Open golf highlights and the Hall of Shame, so don't go to bed yet.
New developments in Alabama's attempt to get an international airport. That story coming up.
But next, a brutal attack at Avondale leaves a man in a coma. Crime Stoppers need your help in finding his attacker.
You're watching Channel 6, your 24-hour news source, with Brenda Ladon, Scott Richards, Art Franklin, meteorologist James Spann with the Doppler 6 forecast, and Rick Carley with sports. This is Channel 6 News at 10.
Channel 6 closed captioning is brought to you by Ziegler Meats, a tradition of great taste.
Police need your help tonight to help them crack a baffling case. There's still a lot of unanswered questions about an assault that left a man in serious condition. Tonight in a Crime Stoppers reenactment, we get more from Art Franklin.
It's about 11 o'clock, Thursday, July 7th. 32-year-old Carl Burnett sits under the pavilion in Avondale Park. He's reading a magazine. Exactly what happened after that is still a mystery to investigators.
Well, we really don't know for sure. There's all sorts of possibilities. You know, it could have been almost anything that happened.
Here's what we do know from a 911 call.
Birmingham 911, operator 73.
Yeah, there's a man laying up in Avondale Park in the pavilion bleeding. I don't know.
Okay, you got someone down?
Yeah, there's somebody laying up there.
When police got here, the victim, Carl Burnett, was lying under this picnic table. He was unconscious and bleeding from his face.
He had been physically assaulted by an unknown person, and as a result of the assault, you know, he received some serious physical injuries. We'd like to, any witnesses that, any persons that saw what happened to come forward, and we'd also like the person that called this in originally to get back in touch with us.
All you have to do is call Crime Stoppers at this number, 254-7777. Art Franklin, Channel 6 News at 10.
The Birmingham Area Chamber of Commerce has a fund to pay rewards to people who call with Crime Stoppers tips. You collect if your tip leads to an arrest.
We're beginning a new segment on our news tonight. Every Thursday night at 10 and Friday on Daybreak, we'll let you know what kind of road closings you can expect when you hit the state's highways. Now, on the Coleman-Blount County line, the northbound lanes of I-65 are closed above the Warrior exit. Traffic is being rerouted onto the southbound lanes, and the following roads are all due to the flooding in southeast Alabama. In Houston County, State Road 109 at the Florida line, and in Geneva County, Alabama 85 from Bellwood to Geneva, Alabama 27 from Geneva to Chancellor, Alabama 87 from Sampson to the state line. Now in Dale County, Alabama 134 from Newton to Daleville, Alabama 134 from East Midland City to Dothan Airport, Alabama 123 from Newton to Ozark, and in Henry County, State Road 95 is closed in Abbeville. Alabama 173 north of Newville, County 65, Alabama 134 east of 431 in Headland, and in Barber County, State Road 131 from Texasville to Clio. Also, quite a few county roads are closed in the southeast because of flooding. Now, we hope this makes traveling just a little bit easier on the state roads.
Curl up in front of your TV, make some popcorn. James Spann has a perfect forecast. Perfect stay-at-home forecast. That's next. And what do Stephen King and lobster larceny have in common? The story after sports. On Wall Street, the Dow rose 35 points closing at 37.39. Another day of rain. We can't get away from it.
Yeah, what a drenching about 6 o'clock this evening in Birmingham,
Really
Scott.
came down.
Yeah, we'll show you some of the scenes around Birmingham. The flash flooding was enough to really block some roads for a while. You can see one vehicle nearly submerged.
Look at that.
That's a city bus having a hard time traversing.
Is it our Washington Bureau right now?
Weeks ago, Troche wrote this letter predicting the mass killings of people associated with abortion rights movement. He sent it to pro-choice congressman and President Clinton. But many pro-life activists are
priest or minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ who condones the use of violence to overcome the violence of abortion has forfeited his right to speak as a clergyman or as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The Archbishop of Mobile had already removed Father Troche from his parish. He says Troche is no longer a priest in good standing. Most of the abortion clinic workers in Birmingham heard about the killings on their way to work this morning, but the murders of their colleagues didn't close the clinics here. Dr. Bruce Lucero says the killings only make his commitment to his work stronger.
I don't have fear because I believe what I'm doing is right, and that just comes with the duty. If you're going to stand up for what you believe, you're going to stand up for bullies, you don't fear them. You prepare and you try to take precautions so that you're able to carry out your fight, but you don't back down out of fear.
Abortion rights supporters will be on hand tomorrow to guard the entrances to at least one of Birmingham's abortion clinics.
Recapping our top story, a former minister is charged with murdering an abortion doctor and his security escort in Pensacola.
Paul Hill allegedly shot Dr. John Britton and his security escort James Barrett as they arrived at their abortion clinic this morning. Hill is also charged with attempted murder for the wounding of Barrett's wife, June. Hill is known for advocating violence against abortion clinics and abortion doctors.
Turning to other news tonight, the Health Security Express pulled into Birmingham today and found a little support, but a lot of opposition. The Health Security Express is the bus caravan to drum up support for the Clinton health care plan. It's traveling to Washington to join other health care reform riders from across the country. So far, they've been met by protesters at their stops. In Birmingham, it was the same thing as people waved signs and shouted. Police kept demonstrators across the street away from the bus riders. And this comes after some trouble in Mississippi, where one health care supporter was attacked and demonstrators blocked in a bus. Well, U.S. troops are on mission. Pentagon officials emphasize the role of U.S. troops will be only for securing the airport in the Rwandan capital for relief flights. The Deputy Defense Secretary says Americans will not take part in any peacekeeping activities there. The first contingent will include 200 Army Air Force and Special Operations troops. The airport could be open as early as this weekend.
The judge in the O.J. Simpson murder trial has moved the trial's start date to September 19th now, one day earlier than he originally set. The Simpson case tops tonight's World in a Minute. A mystery witness in the O.J. Simpson murder case is reportedly talking to police. A source close to the case tells the Associated Press the man says he was casing homes to rob the night Simpson's ex-wife and friend were murdered. He claims he heard a woman scream and then saw two white men running from the scene. Al Cowling still doesn't know if he'll face charges for helping O.J. Simpson in that famous slow-speed chase. Prosecutors aren't charging Cowlings for now, but they could later. That makes it harder for Cowlings to help Simpson's defense because any testimony Cowlings gives could be used against him. The Senate voted 87-9 to confirm Stephen Breyer as the 108th Justice of the Supreme Court. Breyer will take the oath of office next week to replace the retired Harry Blackmun. The Vince Foster suicide was the focus of today's Senate Whitewater hearings. An FBI agent testified he's convinced the death of the former White House aide was a suicide. The FBI agent says there's no evidence that it was linked to the Whitewater affair. And a California woman is making a plea for whoever stole her dad's ashes and urn to return it. Dawn Mitchell was getting her car repaired at a service station and left the urn in it. When she went to pick up the car, she realized the urn was gone. No one at the service station seemed to know what happened to the urn.
How hot is it overseas? It's so hot that in Sweden, people are being advised to slow down. And all across Europe, it's almost impossible to buy a fan. It's been one of the hottest Julys in 100 years. Daily high temperatures average up to 95 degrees there. And in Poland, trains arrived late because engineers slowed down to avoid derailing on overheated tracks. In Germany, foresters banned cookouts for fear of wildfires. As for the fans, one company says the reason no one can find one for sale is because production schedules were based on a cool summer last year. And speaking of weather, we've had our share of scorchers here, but this weekend is looking pretty good. Let's go to James Spann in the Weather Center for a first look at the forecast. James?
Well, Brenda, you know, this is normally our hottest part of the summer, but interesting to note today, the lack of 90s up on this map. Highs in the 80s everywhere. Hot spots, Montgomery and Mobile with a high of 89. Birmingham's official high today was 84. That's following a record low this morning of 60. In fact, that broke a 71-year-old record. In fact, tonight, another record low is likely. Clear skies, unseasonably cool for midsummer. A light north breeze at less than 5 miles per hour. Our low tonight dropping down to about 60 degrees. And we're going to promise at least one more dry day to start the weekend. We'll have full forecast information coming up.
Thank you, James. Let's enjoy baseball while we still have it, huh?
That's right. August 12th, the strike date, and the Bravos win tonight 5-2 over the Phillies. Javi Lopez with a home run. We'll show you that. Also, baseball at the Hoover Met. That's not going to be affected by a potential strike. Either is Michael Jordan's luck. Nothing to it. Little fly ball to left. I got it. You got it. The Three Stooges out there. 5-5. 10th inning is Jordan winds up his second. We'll have the highlights from the Met later on. Hey, we got a preview of the Alabama Derby at the Birmingham Racecourse tomorrow. Sheldon Haygood with that story. We got Bassmasters highlights from Carolina and more later on in sports.
All right. Thanks a lot, Rick. The lowdown on which professional athletes will and won't sign autographs. That story in 6 on Your Side.
Plus, the IRS plays Let's Make a Deal with some taxpayers.
You're watching Channel 6, your 24-hour news source with Brenda Ledon, Scott Richards, Art Franklin, meteorologist James Spann with the Doppler 6 forecast, and Rick Carley with sports. This is Channel 6 News at 10.
Channel 6 closed captioning is brought to you by Ziegler Meats, a tradition of great taste.
The Internal Revenue Service is probably the last place in the world you look for people who want to play games. But as CNN's Kelly Arena reports, the IRS is sometimes willing to play Let's Make a Deal.
If you're one of the 6 million people who filed for a tax extension in April, the August 15th deadline is almost here. But what if you still can't pay? Well, all is not lost. You might get lucky and be able to cut a deal through the government program called Offers in Compromise.
If you don't have enough money to pay the taxes and penalties and interest that they've assessed on you, and you don't have assets that you can sell to pay that, the IRS will be willing to listen to how much you're willing to pay to make the taxes, penalties, and interest go away.
This man couldn't afford to pay his taxes in 1993. His bill, including interest and penalties, totaled about $99,000. But after the IRS thoroughly researched his finances and accepted his application to compromise, he only had to pay $2,500.
Well, we think it's a good business decision for the Internal Revenue Service, and we have an awful lot of tax liabilities that we are not able to collect, and it's much more cost beneficial for both the taxpaying public and the Internal Revenue Service.
Last year, nearly 50,000 people applied for a settlement with the government. The IRS accepted a third of those offers. The IRS settled for $210 million out of the $1.3 billion in dispute. Before proposing a deal with the IRS, remember, your settlement becomes public record. Once an agreement is reached, it must be paid in full immediately. And those who cut a deal must pay their taxes in full and on time for the next 5 years, or the agreement is void. Kelly Arena, CNN Business News, New York.
If you want more information on Offers in Compromise, contact your local IRS office.
In 6 on Your Side at 6, we helped 14-year-old Nicky Tazzolino get some answers about a football card he sent to Joe Namath to be signed last February. Now, at the end of July, Nicky Tazzolino is still waiting and told us he simply wanted his card back. We called Joe Namath's office in New York and found out Namath intends to sign and return items
They'll search for the card, and in the meantime, they'll immediately send a Joe Namath autographed picture. Well, this story led to more questions in 6 on Your Side about which athletes you can count on and which ones you can't to sign and return cards or pictures. So we went in search of the answer at the baseball card show at the Galleria this weekend. Dealers and autograph buffs told us there are some athletes who simply refuse to sign unless they're being paid. Sean Hidman is one young man who hopes to have some luck with an autograph tonight at the Barons game.
I'm going to see the Birmingham Barons, and I'm going to see if I can try and get Michael Jordan to sign this.
Hope he had some luck. Now, we found out some professional autograph seekers that Jordan sometimes will and sometimes won't sign. It's iffy. Those who you can count on, we found out Joe Namath and Bo Jackson to sign an autograph. Jack McDowell, the Cy Young Award winner last year, will sign if you send an item by mail, but he won't sign in person. Larry Bird and Ryan Sandberg don't usually sign unless they're being paid at a show. Now, there are books and magazines that can help you find out more about who will and who won't sign. Tough Stuff magazine is one to look for at the card shops.
That's a great idea. I didn't know there was a publication like that helped out.
Yeah, it could save some kids from losing their cards,
That's
too.
right. Oh, we had a beautiful Friday, and James says Saturday looks terrific, too. The full weekend forecast is coming up.
Plus, we'll take you to one place a vampire wouldn't be caught dead at. That story later. And on Wall Street, the Dow rose 33.5 points to close at 3764.
This segment of Channel 6 News is brought to you by your Alabama Lincoln Mercury dealers.
James has been real enthusiastic talking about how beautiful it was today, and he's excited about talking about tomorrow. Now what about Sunday? This isn't going to be a total collapse, is it?
No, just a gradual shift.
Good.
And next week, no guarantees. Next week, probably back into the wet mode, but the weekend, pretty nice conditions coming up. Here's our weather situation tomorrow. Pretty much a carbon copy of today. Cool and crisp in the morning. A record low likely of 60 degrees around the breakfast hour, 82 by lunchtime, 87 the high in the afternoon. A nice breeze out of the north at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and we see nothing to make us forecast any significant chance of rain. Right now, skies are clear in Birmingham. A delightful summer evening. We have 73 at Channel 6. The dew point 64, relative humidity 76%, the barometer rising, the wind out of the north at only 2 miles per hour. 84 the high today. Look at the record, 107. That's the hottest temperature on record in Birmingham. So this certainly has a history of being a very hot day. That was set back in 1931, but a new record low this morning. Our low was 60. The old record was 62 back in 1923. Of course, no rain today, and the air quality was just fine with a count of 46. Today's high of 84. That's 7 degrees below normal. This morning's low 60, 10 below normal. So you can see certainly it can be much warmer than this time of the year. Around our state at the 10 o'clock hour, temperatures already cooling down nicely. The cool spot now, Gadsden at 66 degrees. The Birmingham Airport in Huntsville down to 68. In Anniston and Auburn, 69. And up in the Muscle Shoals area, skies are fair there, and the temperature is 72. Boy, it didn't rain in a lot of places today. Check the radar out today. A couple of small showers down in South Alabama. Those are fading rapidly from the radar. And the chance of showers tomorrow only in the 5% range over North Alabama. But by Sunday, that tropical air will gradually move back in here. In fact, already you can see kind of this area of disturbed weather in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. And as this moves in here, we could see a few afternoon thunderstorms in scattered spots on Sunday. But certainly by far the best chance of showers in the days ahead will occur about the first part of next week, Monday and especially on Tuesday. Gulf Coast weather for the weekend looking very nice. A good deal of sunshine tomorrow, partially sunny on Sunday. They will see an increase in thunderstorms by Monday of next week. Here at home, another record low likely tonight. Clear skies, light wind. Our low tonight at 60. Our 5-day planning forecast, lots of sunshine tomorrow, and then next week we get back to that unsettled pattern. Highs mostly in the 80s and lows back in the 70s by next week. Low tomorrow morning, 62 from 1969. We're going to go for 2 in a row.
All right. Thank you, James. It's been rumored for weeks. Now the good word is out. General Motors Parts Division will build a plant in Gadsden. The site is here in this wooded area along the airport off Highway 77. It'll be a tremendous boost to the Gadsden economy. It will add about 1,200 new jobs. Tuesday, the company plans to make the formal announcement. The GM plant will make parts for Mercedes-Benz, which is building its own plant, of course, as you know, near Tuscaloosa.
A North Carolina man serves up a hefty dish of honesty. That story later.
Plus, it's the Alabama Derby this weekend at the Birmingham Race Course, and it's the best field ever for racehorses in Birmingham. Rick Hardy's next with sports.
If you're a big Michael Jordan fan, you may find some of his so-called comments hard to believe today. Huh?
He always says what's on his mind, but you got to kind of keep in mind the source, the New York Post, a newspaper kind of known for what, flash and trash. Is that fair to say up there?
I guess so.
Anyway, some tough talk from Jordan as he's quoted in a New York newspaper ripping former Bulls teammates Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. According to the Post, Jordan's been bothered that Pippen and Grant have complained about not getting enough PT playing time when Jordan was with the Bulls. He says he never received preferential treatment from Coach Jackson, and he also adds that while his pride will never let him return to the NBA, he could average 32 points a game if you gave him 2 weeks to get ready. You know something? I believe the guy. The Barons now hosting the Carolina Mudcats tonight. Hoover met in front of another fine crowd. Scary moment. 4th inning, Chris Snowpeck hit on the left pinky. Boy, that is painful. He leaves the game. He's sent to a hospital for x-rays. Nothing official there. Hey, Mom, get the kids off the sugar. They're going to be up till 2 in the morning. Bottom of the 5th, 3-0 Mudcats. Glenn DeSarcina, a double down the line. DeSarcina, not 1, not 2, 3 doubles tonight. 5-5 now, 10th inning at the Hoover Met. On the Chuck Person scoreboard, Person signs with the Spurs today for $1 million. Chicago by 1, Boston by 5, New York 5-2, Oakland 6-4, Toronto leads Baltimore, Kansas City 5-3. Braves back to work tonight after taking last night off. The guys hoping to be Philly busters at the stadium. Braves hosting Philadelphia, and while Steve Avery does the job all about, Javi Lopez against Danny Jackson. A 2-run job with a 6th. Share of criticism has come Javi's way, but he does a good job tonight. 5-2, Braves win it. Other scores is the Braves by 3. Montreal keeps winning. They double up the Marlins. The Mets beat Pittsburgh and Chicago over the Cards. Tomorrow at 3:45, it's the Alabama Derby. It's the most impressive field ever. The favorite for this race, Bay Street Star. Sheldon Haygood has more as a Baywatch goes up at the race course.
That's Bay Street Star, considered the top horse entered in the Alabama Derby.
If he does something wrong, you can correct him, and he'll usually remembers it for the next time and doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's for a horse, I think he's pretty and knows pretty up on everything.
What a nice horse, Brian.
You got it pretty good. It went easy, huh?
He's a sweetheart.
Bay Street Star had a light workout under the sun today, while his closest nemesis, Polar Expedition, enjoyed a more peaceful setting.
Yeah, the fans seem to kind of like him because he's the underdog. He's a blue-collar worker. He wasn't a horse that would have been worth a lot of money until he started running and showed what he could do.
Polar Expedition, at 3-1 odds, has 12 victories in his career. 2 stalls down, it's the favorite, Bay Street Star, 12 victories as well, and the favorite at 5-2 odds.
There's a horse that's going to, you know, speed on out there real quick. My horse can lay right off of him. Well, if nobody's anxious for the lead, my horse can, he don't mind running on the lead either.
Both horses have run well this year, but because of Polar Expedition's lack of size, Bay Street Star gets the nod as the favorite.
Oh, I think he's got a legitimate chance. I'm not saying he'll win, but he's done well here and seems to be coming into the race the way we'd like him to.
7 other horses will challenge the 2 favorites in what many say is the best field ever to run at the Birmingham Race Course. Sheldon Haygood, Channel 6 Sports.
Post time at 3:45. Now a new leader after 2 days of the Bassmasters Classic World Championship. He's a short order cook from Connecticut. This is Brian Kerschel, 23 years old. He's an amateur. The World Championship of Bass Fishing continues. Usually, it's the pros, the pro anglers that do this for a living that are leading. Brian Kerschel, look at this baby. That's a 5-pounder there, 5 bass, 14 pounds. He leads with the final day of competition tomorrow. That'd be like Scott Richards winning the Masters golf tournament. I mean,
Hey, it could happen.
Well,
it could happen.
In his dreams, right?
Possible.
In the dreams.
Thank you, Rick. Well, the Golden Rule is alive and well in North Carolina. That story next.
Plus, we'll take you to one festival that'll have you reaching for the mouthwash.
Along with fish and chicken, Randy Tarrant serves up a hefty dish of honesty at Durham's Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Now, while cleaning tables, Tarrant found a purse containing some thousands thousands of dollars in cash and a check for thousands more. Tarrant tracked the woman down through her attorney and gave the purse back. And the woman had just closed her bank accounts and sold her house so she could move to Georgia. He says he never had any intention of keeping the money, but listen to this. The woman insisted he take at least $40, so he took his children out for pizza with the reward money. How do you like that? What a guy.
That's great. Saturday morning breakfast forecast looks this way. Clear and cool, a record low of 60 degrees. Rick?
Alabama Derby post time 3:45 tomorrow. Highlights at 5:30.
All right, thank you, Rick. Finally tonight, you've heard of strawberry festivals, peach festivals. How about a garlic festival? In Gilroy, California, they're cooking up the most imaginative foods with the help of the pungent vegetable. As many as 150,000 garlic lovers will visit the festival this weekend, tasting garlic shrimp, garlic soup, garlic fries, and garlic jerky. The festival even has its own mascot, the human garlic clove. Wow.
Incredible. That's our news for now.
Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday. I'm Scott Richards with a 24-hour news update. U.S. United Nations Ambassador Madeleine Albright says several Latin American nations would back possible military action against Haiti and would contribute a few thousand troops. They include Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, Suriname, Belize, Panama, El Salvador, and Honduras. Meanwhile, Pentagon sources say several hundred Marines have been practicing invasion techniques. More news in an hour.
You're watching WBRC Television, Channel 6.
I'm Scott Richards with a 24-hour news update. Persistent questions of Supreme Court nominee Stephen Breyer on Thursday. Senator Howard Metzenbaum asked about Breyer's insurance investments with Lloyd's of London. In connection with one toxic cleanup case, Breyer said the matter was fact-related and the ruling did not affect his investments. And Breyer bristled when Metzenbaum suggested that a book by Breyer shows disdain for the EPA's priorities in combating pollution. More news in an hour.
You're watching Channel 6, your 24-hour news source.
We now join ABC's World News Now, already in progress.